The Middle East is now engulfed in one of the most volatile and far-reaching conflicts of the modern era as tensions between Iran and a United States-aligned coalition continue to spiral following the outbreak of war on February 28, 2026. What began as a series of coordinated airstrikes by the United States and Israel on Iranian military and strategic infrastructure has rapidly evolved into a multi-front regional confrontation, drawing in Gulf nations, disrupting global energy flows, and redefining the nature of modern warfare. The initial strikes aimed at weakening Iran's military capabilities and strategic assets triggered a swift and expansive retaliation from Tehran. Iran, through its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, launched a campaign of missile and drone attacks targeting American military positions and allied infrastructure across the Middle East. These operations were framed by Iranian officials as a defensive response and a demonstration of deterrence, but their scale and reach have significantly altered the regional security landscape. In the weeks since the conflict began, Iran has targeted multiple countries hosting U.S. military assets, including Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Qatar. This widening scope has transformed the conflict from a bilateral confrontation into a regional crisis with global implications. One of the most consequential developments occurred at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. Iranian missile and drone strikes hit the installation with precision, injuring U.S. personnel and damaging critical military assets. According to confirmed reporting, at least 10 to 12 U.S. service members were wounded, with some sustaining serious injuries. The strike also caused significant damage to refueling aircraft and, in a major escalation, destroyed or severely damaged an E-3 Sentry airborne warning and control system, one of the most critical assets in the U.S. Air Force's surveillance network. The loss of such an aircraft represents more than just material damage. The E-3 AWACS plays a central role in coordinating air operations, tracking threats across vast distances, and maintaining situational awareness in complex combat environments. Its destruction highlights a critical vulnerability in U.S. military operations and underscores the evolving capabilities of Iranian strike systems. Military analysts have described the attack as a turning point, demonstrating Iran's ability to penetrate advanced air defense systems and strike high-value targets with precision. The incident has also reignited long-standing concerns within U.S. military circles about the vulnerability of bases in the Gulf, many of which are located within range of Iranian missiles. This vulnerability has become a defining feature of the conflict. Fixed military installations, once considered secure due to advanced defense systems, are now increasingly exposed to coordinated missile and drone attacks. Iran's strategy appears to focus on exploiting this weakness, targeting critical nodes such as radar installations, logistics hubs, and command centers. Beyond Saudi Arabia, Bahrain has emerged as one of the most sensitive and strategically significant theaters in the conflict. The island nation hosts the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters, making it a key hub for American naval operations in the Persian Gulf. Iranian strikes have targeted multiple locations in Bahrain, including areas near the capital Manama and districts associated with U.S. military presence. Reports confirm that missile and drone attacks have caused damage to infrastructure and resulted in civilian casualties. At least one civilian has been killed, and more than 50 people have been injured since the conflict began. In addition to military-linked targets, Iranian strikes have also hit critical infrastructure, including desalination plants and industrial facilities. These attacks have raised serious humanitarian concerns, as such infrastructure is essential for water supply and economic stability in the region. In one notable incident, a drone strike damaged a desalination plant in Bahrain, disrupting water supplies and highlighting the broader risks of targeting civilian infrastructure. Iran has also targeted industrial sites such as aluminum production facilities in Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. These strikes injured workers and caused significant damage, illustrating the economic dimension of the conflict and its impact on civilian industries. The targeting of infrastructure reflects a broader strategic approach aimed at increasing pressure on U.S. allies by disrupting their economies and critical services. This tactic has contributed to a growing sense of instability across the Gulf as countries grapple with both military threats and economic disruptions. The conflict has also extended to maritime domains, with attacks on oil tankers and shipping routes, raising concerns about the security of global energy supplies. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for global oil transport, has become a focal point of tension, with incidents involving missile strikes and naval maneuvers threatening to disrupt one of the world's most important trade routes. The human toll of the conflict continues to rise. More than 300 U.S. service members have been injured since the war began, with at least 13 fatalities reported. Civilian casualties have also increased, particularly in areas where military and civilian infrastructure are closely intertwined. The use of drones and missiles in densely populated regions has heightened the risk of collateral damage, raising concerns among humanitarian organizations and international observers. At the same time, the United States and its allies have intensified their own military operations. Thousands of strikes have reportedly been carried out against Iranian targets, including missile production facilities, launch sites, and military infrastructure. These operations have significantly degraded parts of Iran's missile capabilities, but they have not eliminated its ability to conduct retaliatory strikes. Iran's continued ability to launch attacks despite sustained bombardment underscores the resilience of its military infrastructure and the effectiveness of its asymmetric warfare strategy. By relying on mobile launchers, decentralized command structures, and a combination of ballistic missiles and drones, Iran has been able to maintain operational capability even under intense pressure. The conflict has also taken on a strong political dimension. Statements from U.S. leadership indicate a willingness to escalate further if necessary, while also expressing openness to diplomatic solutions. At the same time, Iranian officials have issued warnings that any country hosting U.S. forces could become a target, increasing the stakes for Gulf nations. The geopolitical implications of the conflict are profound. Regional alliances are being tested, with some countries reaffirming their support for the United States, while others adopt more cautious positions. The involvement of multiple actors, including Iran-aligned groups and allied forces, has created a complex and fluid battlefield. The information environment surrounding the conflict is equally contested. Iranian media outlets have released claims of major successes, including the destruction of high-value U.S. assets and extensive damage to military installations. While some of these claims have been partially supported by evidence, others remain unverified or disputed by independent sources. This divergence highlights the role of information warfare in shaping perceptions of the conflict. Both sides are engaged in a battle not only on the ground, but also in the narrative space, seeking to influence public opinion and strategic calculations. Satellite imagery and open source intelligence have provided glimpses into the extent of the damage on both sides. Images showing destruction at military bases, ports, and infrastructure sites across the region underscore the scale of the conflict and its impact on both military and civilian targets. The economic consequences of the conflict are already being felt globally. Disruptions to energy infrastructure and shipping routes have contributed to volatility in oil prices and raised concerns about supply chain stability. The potential closure or disruption of the Strait of Hormuz remains a significant risk, with far-reaching implications for the global economy. At the same time, humanitarian concerns are growing. Attacks on civilian infrastructure, including water and energy facilities, have raised alarms about long-term impacts on regional stability and the well-being of affected populations. The evolving nature of warfare in this conflict is particularly notable. The use of precision-guided missiles, long-range drones, and coordinated multi-target attacks reflects a shift away from traditional military engagements toward more complex and asymmetric forms of warfare. Iran's focus on targeting high-value assets and critical infrastructure represents a strategic effort to offset conventional military disadvantages and impose costs on its adversaries. This approach has proven effective in certain cases, challenging assumptions about the dominance of advanced military systems for the United States. The conflict has highlighted both strengths and vulnerabilities. While its military capabilities remain formidable, the exposure of key assets and the challenges of defending widely dispersed bases have raised important questions about strategy and posture in the region. As the conflict continues, there is increasing recognition that the situation remains highly volatile and unpredictable. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing, but significant obstacles remain, and the risk of further escalation is ever present. The coming weeks will be critical in determining the trajectory of the war. Whether through continued military confrontation or a negotiated settlement, the outcome of this conflict will have lasting implications for the Middle East and the broader international order. For now, the region stands at a crossroads. The combination of military escalation, economic disruption, and humanitarian challenges underscores the complexity of the crisis and the urgency of finding a path towards stability. What is clear is that the battlefield has changed. The events unfolding across the Middle East are not only reshaping regional dynamics, but also redefining the nature of modern warfare, with implications that will be felt far beyond the immediate conflict zone.